Hey, it's the Nerdy Sports Fan. We're wrapping up our series of breaking down every single team's record this year with the Atlanta Falcons. So, if you've been paying attention to the other videos, the way this works is we have some games that we guarantee as a win based off of strength of schedule, strength of your team, strength of the other team, what have you. Some games that are guaranteed losses for the same reasons. The remaining go into a toss-up category, which at the end we will divide up close to even, leaning one way or another based off of strength of schedule, and that's how we get our record prediction. Now, if you are familiar with my videos from this offseason, you are no stranger to my belief that the Atlanta Falcons should have fired their coach now 2 off seasons in a row. Did not do it. I don't know if Dan Quinn has some sort of weird blackmail material on Arthur Blank. I don't know if Arthur Blank is just punking us. I don't know what is going on. But 90% of football fans think Dan Quinn shouldn't have a damn job as a head coach. And I'm sorry, but the simple fact that you're a billionaire and have enough money to own the team doesn't make you more qualified to make that decision. Everybody thinks you're wrong, Arthur Blank. So, anyways, the offseason, the draft was okay. There's people that I thought you overdrafted. Terrell, I think, I really overdrafted your first round DB. I like Marlon Davidson. I think that he's going to be extremely effective on the defensive line. So up and down draft, free agency. Well, you added Todd Gurley. God, you added arthritis to the team. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's up and down off season. I don't think there's anything saying that, hey, they're certainly better than last year. No. In fact, I think you're worse than last year for one simple factor. You've been consistently worse every year ever since Kyle Shanahan was no longer the offensive coordinator of this team. Look it up. Okay? Dan Quinn is not the reason for that Super Bowl run. He's not. Shanahan was. And because I put that Super Bowl run on Shanahan, I also hang the fact that Shanahan now has 2 Super Bowl situations where the opposing team has come back to beat him. So, yeah. I don't think Dan Quinn is the reason you were good. Shanahan was. Shanahan's not here anymore. The longer he's not here, the worse the team gets. It all works out just looking at it, first of all, but it also works out mathematically. Look at the records, look at the numbers, judge for yourself. Either way, let's dig into this season. So, week 1, you get the Seahawks and you're going to lose. I get it, you're getting them at home. Does not matter to me. Okay? The Seahawks have a lot of factors against them in this game. They're traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast. That traditionally doesn't work well for West Coast teams. It has not been a factor for the Seattle Seahawks. So you can't say that that's an issue. The Seahawks have had, yes, the same kind of offseason that Atlanta has had. Relatively up and down. They're kind of level. But when the Seahawks are level, they're level at competing for the number 1 spot in the NFC. When Atlanta's level, they're desperate to even try and sniff the playoffs. Yeah. Let's be realistic. Seattle's going to come in and show you what a real playoff team looks like. You're going to lose that game. At the Cowboys, that's a loss. Going into Jerry World, they're a very improved team. All right? They were a very good team last year. They had problems closing out because Jason Garrett is really terrible as a leader of men. You don't have that problem of Jason Garrett anymore. They're in Dallas. Mike McCarthy has won the big one before. He knows what the hell he's doing. So even though it's a new head coach, it's an upgrade at coaching in my mind. because they're retaining the offensive system that they ran previously. That's why they kept, what is it, Kellen Moore? I forget the offensive coordinator, but the guy who was the quarterback coach for Dallas under Garrett is staying on, and they're keeping that offensive set because it's worked so well. So Mike McCarthy is just going to be game day management, and the behind the scenes CEO coach, which is really what they needed there in Dallas. So it's a huge upgrade for an already extremely, extremely tough team. So you're definitely going to lose on the road in Dallas. All right, week 3. You're getting the Bears at home, and you're going to lose. The Bears are going to be up and down, and this is one of the weeks they're going to be up. Mitchell Trubisky is playing quarterback for his NFL career. I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. But I have no faith in Dan Quinn's defense. It has shown me nothing over the past few years to think that they're going to be able to take advantage of the weaknesses in the Bears' attack. And, to boot, I think the Bears have enough going on their defense with Khalil Mack to be really worried about Matt Ryan staying upright. All right, Todd Gurley is going to be relied on a bit too much at the beginning of the season. He doesn't have anything left. Okay? They worked all the tread off that tire the past few years in St. Louis, and then the back alleys of Los Angeles stadiums. Todd Gurley was a waste to bring onto this team. And it's going to show. They're going to rely too much on him to try and put wins together at the beginning of the season. It will not work. They will have to try and refigure out what the hell they're doing by midway in the season if they want to recoup anything. All right, so Packers. You're losing. Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed the hell off based off of the offseason that the Packers have had. And the Packers are slowly building that team to mirror what's been going on in San Francisco, which has been highly effective. I think they have good coaching. I think the roster is better than it's been in a few years. It's just not built for what Rodgers wants. And the pissed off Rodgers factor is going to be taken out on the rest of the league. I don't think you have the defense to stop that man and this team the way it's currently built. I don't. And I don't have any faith in the offense that's been run by Dan Quinn and company. It's not good. Okay? It's nowhere near what it was under Shanahan. They're relying too much on talent. They added Gurley in order to try and bolster that, and that's not going to freaking work. All right, so week 5, Panthers, toss-up game. Okay, it's a division rival. They know you pretty well. You're both kind of weak teams. I think you're relatively even. I think they have a lot of weird factors which could go either way for you. They have a new head coach. They have a new quarterback. Is that going to cause consistency issues to make it so they're an absolute tire fire? It can be. It can also be just the exact right factors needed so you aren't ready for what they're going to do to you. So this is a toss-up game for me. There's not enough serious coaching leadership to set this team up to just dominate weaker teams because, well, let's face it, I think the Falcons are one of the weaker teams. All right, so week 6 at the Vikings. That's a loss. You're on the road. You're going up against a team that has a running attack that you don't see often in the zone running scheme from the Shanahan system. It's been kind of hybridized and reused by teams like the Rams and the Packers. So you've seen a look at it, but not the way Kubiak runs it. Kubiak is arguably the absolute best man for this offense in the league. I mean, he won a Super Bowl in Denver using it recently. And he made Manning a game manager in order to run that offense. So he's running the show on offense in Minnesota now, and they are just going to punch people in the gut all game long. They're going to tire you out. And when they're not tiring you out, they've got a really, really good quarterback throwing the ball. back behind that. It's too much. It's too much for a team that's not firmly set up in Atlanta to deal with. So the Vikings, I don't think you have a chance against. Lions, this is a toss-up game. You're getting them at home. They're a relatively directionless team because they have bad head coaching too. So they have a very talented quarterback with some dynamic playmakers on the offensive side. They have bad coaching, questionable defense. Remind you of anybody? So since they're essentially a mirror image of Atlanta, this is a toss-up game. All right, so at the Panthers, I'm calling this a loss. And I'm calling this a loss for one reason and one reason only. With how weak the beginning of the season has been, this is right when people start calling for Dan Quinn's job. I don't think he can handle the pressure of coaching for his job. I don't. I think he starts losing to far inferior teams, like the Panthers. The fact that this is on the road makes this an easier call for me. This is a division rival. They know you well. There's a lot of pressure mounting for Dan Quinn to deliver on something he's just incapable of doing. And this is where it all starts to crumble. And this is where people finally start to call for Dan Quinn's head, and the ownership starts to listen. Now, I think much like last year, you're not going to fire him mid-season, but I think he's going to be a lame duck from this point on. All right, now Broncos turns into a loss for the same reasons. The Broncos are a team on the rise. And they have enough factors going their way on offense with how fast that team got, especially just in this draft. But, last year, adding Noah Fant, now him having a year under his belt, and the wide receivers they added this offseason, added into Drew Lock now being in his second season, that offense is going to be dangerous. Is it going to be consistent? No, but it will be dangerous. And Dan Quinn's defense hasn't done much to stop people. The Broncos have enough on their defense with pass rush from Von Miller and Nick Chubb to really worry about Matt Ryan staying upright. And again, all the questions about that man's job. He's beginning to crack. Teams that you should be able to beat, like the Panthers and the Broncos, all of a sudden become impossible to do anything against because Dan Quinn's game management has been a sore spot, and it's going to get worse under that kind of pressure. Bye week, week 10. Is this the week that Dan Quinn gets fired? I think it should be. I don't think it will be. I don't. I think they're going to wait till the offseason. At the Saints, that's a loss because you're on the road against a top 5 team. Let's not kid ourselves. Raiders becomes a toss-up game at home. All right? Now there's less pressure because there's no doubt that the guy's going to get canned and you're going to have a losing season. So without that pressure, you can begin coaching to try and win. And the Raiders aren't at a spot where I think that they can come into your house and just demolish you. They're a very strong team. I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. But they're not so solid they can guarantee a win in this situation. Saints becomes a toss-up game at home because they're starting to overlook you. It becomes a toss-up game because a road game against Atlanta is not on their radar anymore. And you're a division rival, so you know enough about them to have a serious chance to sneak up on them and get a win. At the Chargers, toss-up game. You're on the road, which is a daunting task for a team like this. And you're against a team that's built to try and beat Patrick Mahomes. So they can definitely hang with your offense on their defense. But it becomes a bit weird because they're starting Justin Herbert at this point. All right, they've got, I think, a Week 12 bye, which is where I think Tyrod gets the axe. And now they're in a couple of weeks in with that new quarterback energy. I think that energy for the new QB is enough to bring them to the point where they can contend with you. But you do have a bit of an advantage because it is a rookie QB you're going against. All right, Week 15, Buccaneers, toss-up game. Same reason as the Saints. They are overlooking you at this point. And since you're a division rival, you know them a bit better than other teams, and you have a serious chance to win. Chiefs, that's a loss. They're not overlooking anybody. They're in direct competition with the Ravens for the number 1 overall seed in the NFL. They're getting every win they can, and especially the easy ones. Finishing the season at Buccaneers with a loss because they want to roll into the playoffs on a high note. They're fighting for divisional seeding. And they had a scare against you just a few weeks previous. Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and the now veteran leadership around that team is not going to let it be scary at home. So, if you were paying attention, the games that I think are an absolute lock one way or another, you are 0-10. Based off of strength of schedule, splitting the remaining games, I think you're 4-12. That is my record prediction for this team. I'm positive a lot of people have a lot of things to say about that, so hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you like the nerdier stuff, the video game content and so forth, there's another channel for that. So hit me up at the Nerd Sports Fan. I know, creative, right? But also don't forget about me on Patreon. This season, we are hitting fantasy football content hard. So if you need help setting your draft order to make sure you've got your team ready to go, if you need help setting your week-to-week lineup so you can bring home the W at the end of the season, or if you just want to join me for a live watch-along, hit me up. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it.